Well, good morning, everybody. I got a development here in the forecast. We do have a severe risk that was just introduced by the SPC for East Michigan. And that's going to include for areas basically from I-94, further south of I-94, really, but 94 all the way up to the thumb of Michigan there in dark green. That's going to be a severe risk today. Main threat is going to be damaging winds. There is currently from the SPC no risk for hail or tornadoes, but we're going to dive into this a little bit deeper here and give you our thoughts here as well. But this is just got issued 7 minutes ago, so we're hopping on as quickly as we possibly can to cover this. That severe risk is now in place for the east side of Michigan here. Kind of been expecting one for a few days now. I mean, it's been looking pretty good, but there is some conditionality to it. We'll go over that here, but I wanted to kind of drag this out just a bit, get more people on here. We got 70 in chat. What's up, everybody? Alicia, Allie, Hannah, Tina, Mystic, Crystal, Tracy, Tiffany, Daniel. What's up, guys? It's going to be a nice day out once again. Let's go ahead and get right into this. All right. So the SPC has went ahead and issued a low-end risk. We call it a marginal risk. It's the lowest risk we can have out of 5 levels. So it's level 1. All right. Your only hazard from the SPC for this is going to be damaging winds. However, we do think there is a low tornadic risk in a few areas. I'll go ahead and go over that here just a second. But with that being said, we're going to look at the models upcoming today. It should be pretty straightforward here. So looking at how this is going to shape out, we're going to see the instability and wind shear start to overlap here this morning as instability builds. Looking at the satellite here, looking at sunshine data, we're looking at that really closely. If you guys read our forecast post this morning, we're looking at the data really close this morning to get an idea of what the atmosphere is doing. And right now, if you look in Michigan here, we're going to see that there's a good clearing of sunshine here in the southeast corner of the state. And what that is doing is allowing for that surface to become unstable with this. All right. So we have basically almost full sun here in southeast Michigan, just a few lingering clouds that are working their way out right now. So we don't have sun. You will soon. And at my house here, there is not a cloud in the sky here. So it's going to destabilize or should destabilize the surface of the atmosphere, and that should allow storm fuel to build quite easily. So looking at the models now, looking at the overall synopsis here, going back to the overlap here of instability and wind shear, we're going to look at the composite here, right? Bam, there we go. So we're going to see it starts to build here across central Michigan here. Notice how it goes all the way over here to the west side of Michigan. We're not too concerned over there because the timing of this trigger for these storms is going to be focused more so east. So West Michigan, not really a concern. Could have some rain still over there. I think it actually is raining over there, if I'm not mistaken. Check the radar here really quickly. But yes, it is clearing out over there, moving this way into East Michigan. But it is going to be not a concern for the west side. All right. Moving this forward into the afternoon, though, we start seeing these colors up there, especially in the thumb here, turn yellowish orange. That indicates a little bit higher overlap there of instability and wind shear. Moving into the 1 p.m., go to 2 p.m. here, 3 p.m., and then 4 p.m., 5 p.m., it should be just lingering out by 5. So what this is basically telling us is the environment up there in the thumb of Michigan, east side of Michigan, is unstable with wind shear roughly between 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. All right, so that's your rough timing. Luckily, not going to worry about evening, overnight threats, nothing like that. It's going to be a pretty quick threat today. 12 p.m., 5 p.m., east side of Michigan. There is your severe threat here. Now, what we're going to go over here, in our opinion, is something that the SPC is not mentioning, and that is a low-end risk for a tornado. All right. If you live up in the tip-top thumb of Michigan, we're talking Sanilac, Tuscola, Huron counties, way up there by like Cairo, Cass City, Sandusky, Port Austin, those particular areas. All right. Very tip-top thumb. We do see a low threat for a spin-up tornado up there. And I'm going to show you guys why. So looking at a few of the ingredients that come together to get severe weather to happen, We look at mainly a couple things different for tornadoes than like wind or hail, and that is low level wind shear and what we call low level spin, SRH. All right. Now, if we look at this model here, this is a different website that we use called Pivotal. This is an overlap here of our low level wind shear at roughly 2 p.m. when storms are expected to move through. Notice how in the risk area further south here, there's really not much low level shear in this part of the state in that risk area. If we overlap the risk area here, it goes basically down to Monroe County, Lenawee County here, just missing those two counties. But north of 94, that entire area is in the risk area. But go back over here to this model here. Notice how that area doesn't really have much in the way of low level shear. But up here in the tip top thumb, we have a good increase of that low level shear highlighted in purple there. It's given us 29 or so, 29, 28, right around that knots, which is right around 30 to 35 miles per hour of our low level wind shear. All right. What that is going to do is provide some spin potentially for some storms up there in the tip of the thumb. So between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. or so, we're going to be watching that area closely for storms that would try to rotate. Now, I'm not going to say they are going to rotate. It's just something we're going to watch closely here as we get toward that time frame, but also looking at a few other things that come together for tornadoes. Your composite of wind shear and instability is much higher. If you could notice there up in the thumb, it's been there for overnight models have consistently shown this particular area up here in the thumb has a really good environment up there, not only for damaging winds, but also a potential for rotating storms there. But it's a very brief time window. So a lot can go for this tornadic threat, but a lot can go against it as well. We do have, again, some questions there with instability. We saw some questions with what we call lapse rates. They're a little bit on the weaker side to our liking. So there's some things going for it and some things going against it, but we do not want to ignore that just because there's a pretty decent signal up there potentially for a rotating storm or two, particularly in Sanilac, Tuscola, and Huron counties up there in the top of the thumb area. With that being said, that is your overall risk. But looking at the forecasted radar, I forgot to do that really quickly here. The forecasted radar here is going to show you where this model is thinking the best storms are going to be. Should not be taken as gospel, just a general idea of where it could happen. Looking at there's noon, here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, and then here's 4. All right. So notice how it stays dry pretty much further south on this model, but up there further north where that best environment is being shown, we have storms right overlapping with those. This is 2 p.m. Go back to this is 3 p.m. back to 2 p.m. here. That environment was right out ahead of these storms here. So those storms will be working through a good environment that's forecasted by these models, which draws concern. All right. That's all I'm going to highlight there. 12 p.m., 5 p.m. East Michigan, particularly up there towards the thumb, has a decent higher type of threat in our opinion. But we'll be watching this closely throughout the morning as well as the early afternoon period. Any questions, guys? Oh, wow. Um, this is completely unrelated, but I just got a notification from the Weather Service out of Indianapolis back on March 14th, the Winchester EF3. If you guys remember that tornado, apparently someone has just passed away from that tornado. So that is now going to be considered a deadly one. That's not what you want to hear, but that just came in randomly. But yeah, did not want to hear that. Martin, unlikely. We're going to see a slight risk just because the coverage of storms and also the time frame is quite short. Macomb County should just mainly be damaging winds. If that, I don't really expect this to be a widespread. Everybody's going to get severe weather, nothing like that. Any storm that happens there in that green risk area today would have potential for damaging winds. That's for sure. But not everybody in that risk area is going to see a storm. And if there is a storm, not every storm is going to be severe. There we go. Is there less fuel for storms closer to the Flint area? Right now, yes, but as the clearing of skies works its way further north towards you, we can look at that again. That should build in your instability quite well. So there is basically Michigan here. We see the white here, it's clouds. Over here in southeast where this risk area is, that's your clearing there. So Flint is just on the edge of that clearing. Yeah, Grand Rapids, you're fine over there. Just some rain for you guys over there. Maybe a rumble of thunder. No severe weather for the east side or for the west side. This is going to be a east side threat today. Washtenaw, you are technically in this threat, but I think the coverage of storms is higher off to your north. It is here as well, Alicia. I am just south of you in Lenawee. Possibly Dominique, although the threat for any strong or severe weather is quite low for Lansing. I'm going to pull in the real-time data here to see how the atmosphere is doing. I just woke up at like 8:45. I was watching the update because I see they didn't do an update or they didn't put us in a risk area, which is kind of surprising, but woke up at 9, saw they did, and then hopped right on here. Are we going live later? We plan on it. We plan to, yes. I am actually about to leave for the thumb to go chase this. So I believe Joel's going to have you guys covered on radar, perhaps Mike as well. And I will also be on, if need be, on the move. So, but I'm planning to go to the thumb here in the next hour or so. I'm going to leave. Cindy, I would honestly just an educated opinion here. Sanilac, Tuscola, and Huron counties to me have the biggest risk today. Not only for damaging winds, but I would not rule out a brief tornado happening up there, given what we're seeing on the latest models here. So, up there, further north you go, I think the threat becomes higher. Further south, the coverage kind of wanes out. Not going to say we're not going to get severe further south, but I think the chances are much higher up to the further north of the risk area. No problem, Jody. Flint is in the risk today, and the risk overall is a low end risk. It's the lowest risk you can have. So if you want to say Flint's in a low risk, yes, but is in the risk today. Northern Oakland County, am I expecting severe weather? I wouldn't expect, so to speak, severe weather, but I would more so plan for a potential severe storm. Basically, the marginal risk is what we have in place today. What that basically means is severe as possible. It could mean wind. Today, it means wind, low threat for anything else, unless you're further north in the thumb. But what marginal risk means is basically the coverage of storms will be limited. So not everybody's going to see a storm. And the storms that do happen, not all of them are going to be severe. All right. That's what a marginal risk means. Basically means the environment's coming together okay, but not, overly concerning that everybody's going to see severe. Nothing like that. It's just if you live in the risk area, the potential is there, but not every storm is going to have severe, and not everybody's going to see severe. So the threat is there. It's just we're not going to be able to pinpoint exactly where it's going to happen just yet. Brian, yes, we do. I think that's already been a case this year as well. If you go to our main Facebook page and scroll on our pinned posts, we actually have a good discussion about the upcoming, what we expect the upcoming season to be. I would highly recommend going to check that out. It's a really good read. And so far, it has been spot on. So just want to point that out there. I'd highly recommend going out and reading that. Have you been watching this Wednesday? I have not. What is happening Wednesday? About to find out. Oh, I mean out west, you mean? We'll watch. Oh, okay, I see. I see now. You will have to look more into that. Interesting. We'll focus on that if the time comes later on. But thanks for pointing that out. I did not notice that. Usually my model time is in the evening, so I probably would have caught it tonight, but thank you for that. No problem, Leslie. Yeah, Robert, Adrian is just outside the risk today. I think the further south you go, the less coverage of storms is going to be, less severity as well. Personally, I think this threat is more so tied, if I had to guess. It's just a personal opinion again. I'm not the expert here. I'm not the SPC. They have the risk all the way down to 94 in Monroe, Washtenaw, or should I say Wayne, Washtenaw counties. But if I had to guess here, the highest risk is going to be north of Flint, north of Port Huron, which is 69 here, then east of 23. This 4 or 5 county tier up here in the thumb has my attention the most today. You can use that, Mike. You can use it all you want. The analogy the other day that I used with the cake in the oven, yeah, that's a pretty good. I mean, you can do a lot of analogies too. You could use a car with, you have a nice looking Corvette or a Camaro or Mustang, whatever your car of choice is, and it's a nice looking car, but you have no engine, or maybe you have an engine but you have no gas. That's kind of how the atmosphere is sometimes. You have some things that are there, but it just takes one thing not to be there for something to not happen, you know. Jody, it is not labeled. And there's a good reason for that. You will probably see a sticker or perhaps a magnet when I'm in chase mode, but otherwise it is not labeled. We've had an issue with people following us before, which we don't typically approve of. So we like to keep ourselves low key unless we're actually like actively thinking we're going to have, big weather. We'll put some stuff on our car to kind of label it, make sure everybody's aware of what we are. Some of us have amber lights, stuff like that. But we don't really have too many decked out cars in our crew. I have no idea, Alicia. Is it Alicia or is it Alicia? Being able to hop on here whenever we want to and go live is a big advantage over, not only, I'm not saying we're better, but I'm just saying, like the SPC, NWS, they have certain times they update. Can they update, custom times? Sure. News stations are the same way. At 5 o'clock news, 6 o'clock news, they can break in when there's weather, but like they don't have the ability to change their forecast on a fly. And, they can, they have a lot of restrictions as well with big media as well. So we have more freedom to do what we want. We're not owned by a big company. We're independent. So that gives us an advantage, in my opinion. I'm not going to say we're better, but being able to, utilize freedom to make these forecasts and opinions and stuff like that definitely helps. Yeah, Jordan, I'd say it is. I don't think so, Kendall. I really don't think it's going to move south. And go back to the model here showing the best environment. We can go ahead and go back to kind of look at the previous models. But if you look at the best environment, you're going to see like down here we have maybe like a 2, down here like a 1. So it's it's not a terrible environment, but it's what you want to see more than just a 1 or 2 composite. You go further north here, we see 2s, we start getting 3s, 4s. Then over here in the thumb here, we get 6, 8, 11. There's a 12 in there somewhere I saw earlier. Like there it is right there. There's a 12. So this area up here has the biggest, my biggest eye currently, than further south. And I don't think that's going to shift. But if you go back to like previous model runs, like the 11Z, we're going to see a similar story here where this is, same areas being shown. Go back one more to the 10Z. These are every hour of these model runs. This is what we're going back here. Still showing that thumb area there. It's been a consistent signal here for many, many runs. If we go back to even 6Z, which is 4 in the morning's run, you're going to see it. The better environment still up there, the thumb. So yes, we do have a Twitter. At MI Storm Chasers is our handle. It's actually called X now. It's not called Twitter. All right. Any more questions, guys, before I hop off here? It's pretty straightforward, pretty confined area, and there's one area in particular that we're kind of more so watching, and that's up there North Thumb area, Sanilac, Tuscola, Huron counties. But I get some breakfast here. I'm about to take back off. I'm going to take off to the Thumb. I'll be chasing, so hopefully get something good up there. Hopefully nothing is. I hope we can balance today. I've seen a good storm and not have any damage whatsoever. That's my hope today. 60, Martin. I'd say 60 is a good. It's not a very high end threat. Any other questions? Because of what you're seeing, do you think they may issue a tornado watch? No, I don't think they issue a tornado watch today at all. I don't even think we get a severe watch. And I'll tell you why. Because this area that we're watching is very, very confined to a small area. And the coverage of storms within that area is not going to be, widespread. It's not going to be a bow echo. Everybody's going to get it. Nothing like that. It's going to be one or two cells that are going to dominate, I think, over like two or three counties. And that's not very widespread or long lasting enough to warrant the mention of a higher risk for one, but also B, any type of watch. No problem, Mystic. Appreciate that, Mike. A lot of times, also with new stations, and I understand why they do it. And a lot of times they do it. They don't mention, risks days in advance because it's. I can see why because it's things can change, right? We more so like to highlight potential like a few days in advance. We don't want to do like 10 days if we're not confident. But we get closer to that 5, 4, 3 day time frame. At that point, we're looking at okay, it looks like it's still going to be a possibility of severe weather. We're going to mention this. We're not going to get specific with hazard stuff like that, but that's kind of what gives us an advantage because we can actually pinpoint and say, okay, we're watching, Saturday for potential severe, and then like Thursday or Friday comes along, we're going to get specific with that, because we have more confidence. So it's pretty easy to tell patterns and stuff like that, potential active days, but having highlighting hazards and stuff like that, we try to be more so conservative too, but we try to be as accurate as possible. We internally tell ourselves we want to be most accurate. We don't want to be first. We don't want to be last. We just want to be accurate. So, Kendall, it is correlating today. The longer the sun stays out, the more surface fuel for storms is going to pop or is going to build here. So it's still early. We're looking at real time data over here, and I don't really see much of anything building just yet. Maybe off here, just to the south here in Michigan, it's going to build north as the afternoon goes on here. But yeah, there you go. There's the future forecast. We're going to see that build in quite quickly there. So it's going to build in pretty fast. But looking at satellite stuff like that, it's building. The sun's going to definitely help destabilize the atmosphere today. Time frame is going to be 12 p.m. to 5 p.m., guys. April, your time frame is 12 to 5. Tonight will be mostly clear for you guys. So no storms tonight. Livingston County there is potential for storms that could be strong or severe today. I'm just giving you my opinion that I think it's going to happen further north, but there are a few models that do indicate further south may see a storm. Okay, that's why the risk does go further south. But looking at the latest models, stuff like that, look at the NAM here. We're going to see down here, even the NAM of this morning, early this morning, does have some storms in Ohio, actually. I don't know if I buy this, um, but there's going to be potential for storms across the entire risk area today. I don't know if I buy that, though. I see that the ARRR tries to bring in a area of potential storms and rain later on. This is at 6 p.m. tonight for the 94 corridor. I wonder if they're putting the marginal that far south for that. I don't know if they're covering that or not, but I don't think that's going to overlap too well with the ingredients needed for severe weather, though. So Could see some storms later on if you're in that area, but otherwise, I don't think it's going to be too much to worry about past that 5 p.m. time frame. 12 to 5, Olivia. I'm going to probably say closer to, we'll say 2 for you. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off here, grab some breakfast, get my equipment ready, and probably head north. I'll be out there targeting roughly Vassar area, I think, initially. So, believe Joel and or Mike will be on later if needed for radar coverage, and then I'll be out chasing. I don't know if any of our other chasers coming out. I think Rob was talking about it, but I'm not sure if he decided yet or not. But either way, we got you guys covered. So you guys stay safe, and we'll have updates if anything needs updating.